The warning, through the eyes of Ambassador Sarah Chen. The subtle hum of the Unified Earth Council chamber felt different today. Ambassador Sarah Chen stood before the holographic display, her heart steady despite the weight of the moment. The chamber, usually filled with the casual murmurs of diplomatic discourse, held an unusual silence. The faces of 243 representatives from Earth's nations stared back at her, their expressions a mixture of determination and concealed anxiety. The Arcturian response has arrived, she announced, her voice carrying the practiced neutrality of someone who had spent decades in interstellar diplomacy. The holographic display shifted, revealing the alien text alongside its Earth standard translation. The chamber's lighting dimmed automatically, casting the alien characters in sharp relief against the darkness. Sarah had expected the dismissive tone, but reading it aloud still felt like swallowing bitter medicine. In response to Earth's formal notification of sovereign status and technological advancement, the Arcturian collective acknowledges receipt of communication. Your species' achievements, while notable for your developmental stage, do not warrant the requested elevation in diplomatic status. Continue your current operations within your designated solar system parameters. A low murmur rippled through the chamber. Sarah waited for it to subside before continuing. They've attached what they consider a generous addendum. Should Earth require guidance in maintaining its current technological systems, the collective remains willing to provide basic consultation services at standard rates. Defense Commissioner Jackson's laugh cut through the tension, a sharp, humorless sound. They still think we're running their hand-me-down fusion reactors, he said, shaking his head. They haven't noticed that we haven't purchased their consultation services in over 15 years. Sarah nodded, bringing up another display. This one showed the steady decline in Earth's official technological exchanges with the Arcturian collective over the past 2 decades. It wasn't just that humanity had stopped buying, they had stopped showing altogether. That's been by design, Dr. Maya Patel, head of the Quantum Advancement Division, spoke up from her seat in the third row. Her dark eyes gleamed with a mixture of pride and concern. Every breakthrough, every advancement we've made since the discovery, we've kept it quiet. The quantum shielding, the consciousness transfer protocols, the gravity manipulation systems, none of it registered on their monitoring systems. Sarah remembered the day of the discovery well. It had been a seemingly routine archaeological dig in the Atacama Desert that changed everything. The artifact they found wasn't particularly large, barely the size of a basketball, but it contained something far more valuable than any piece of advanced technology. It held mathematical proofs. Proofs that showed humanity's basic understanding of physics had been fundamentally flawed. More importantly, it showed them how to fix it. The Arcturians aren't alone in their dismissal, Sarah continued, bringing up additional diplomatic responses from other spacefaring races. The Centaurians consider us charmingly ambitious. The Proxima Confederation suggests we focus on internal development. Even the Syrian League, traditionally our strongest allies among the galactic community, advises us to reconsider our position. They're all the same, General Rivera muttered from his position near the main entrance. Been watching us for centuries, thinking they know everything about human capability. Their anthropological studies, their diplomatic missions, all designed to keep us categorized, classified, and contained. Sarah brought up another hologram, this one showing Earth's official technological development curve as perceived by the galactic community. Then, with a gesture, she overlaid it with the classified curve, the real one. The difference was staggering. This is why we sent the warning, she said softly. We tried to give them a chance to reassess their assumptions. To recognize that humanity might be more than they thought. She paused, looking around the chamber. They chose not to listen. Dr. Patel stood up, her voice carrying clearly across the chamber. The quantum shield network is fully operational. All major population centers are covered, and the orbital defense grid can be activated within 3 minutes of a command. The consciousness backup systems are running at 99.99% efficiency for all participating citizens. And the Lazarus Protocol, Sarah asked, though she already knew the answer. Ready, Dr. Patel replied simply. Commissioner Jackson leaned forward in his seat. They'll come now. The very fact that we dared to suggest we deserve equal status will be enough to trigger their protocols for dealing with upstart species. They'll want to remind us of our place. Let them come, General Rivera said, his voice carrying an edge of anticipation. Everything is in position. The resource reallocation units are staged throughout the solar system. The quantum entanglement communication network is running parallel to conventional channels. Even if they bring their entire fleet. They will, Sarah interrupted. The Arcturians don't believe in measured responses. Their historical records show 57 instances of them dealing with what they call presumptuous emerging civilizations. In every case, they deployed overwhelming force to ensure there would be no second attempts at advancement. But they've never faced anything like us, Dr. Patel added. They don't know about the quantum consciousness technology. They haven't detected the dark energy harvesters we've stationed throughout the system. They have no idea that we've been seeding their ships with our nanites every time they've docked at our ports for the past decade. Sarah nodded, bringing up one final display, a real-time map of every Arcturian vessel that had visited Earth in the past 10 years. Each one was now a potential asset, waiting to be activated when the time came. The warning wasn't just diplomacy, she said, her voice carrying across the now silent chamber. It was the first move in a game they don't even know they're playing. They think they're coming to teach us a lesson about our place in the galaxy. She smiled, but there was no warmth in it. Instead, they're about to learn one about assumptions and evolution. The chamber's lighting gradually returned to normal levels as Sarah concluded her presentation. The representatives began their discussions, but she barely heard them. Her mind was already racing ahead to the next phases of the plan. The Arcturians would come with their fleet, their advanced weapons, and their unshakable belief in their superiority. They would expect to find a young, overambitious species in need of correction. What they would find instead was something unprecedented in galactic history, a civilization that had learned to turn centuries of underestimation into its greatest weapon. Humanity hadn't just advanced, they had evolved in ways the older species hadn't thought possible. They had taken different paths, explored possibilities that the established powers had dismissed as impossible or impractical. As the council chamber buzzed with activity, Sarah's quantum implant received a priority alert. The Arcturian fleet had just been detected entering the Oort cloud. Right on schedule. They're here, she announced, her voice cutting through the chamber's discussions. The Arcturian response fleet has just crossed into our solar system. Initial count suggests over 3,000 vessels. Commissioner Jackson whistled low. They really did send everything. Of course they did, Sarah replied, allowing herself a small smile. They want to make an example of us. Show the galaxy what happens when a young species gets too ambitious. She paused, looking around the chamber at the faces of Earth's leaders. Shall we show them what happens when an old empire gets too complacent? The response was unanimous. As the council chambers erupted into coordinated activity, Sarah couldn't help but think about the warning they had sent. It had been polite, diplomatic, and carefully worded. It had also been humanity's last attempt at preventing what was to come. The Arcturians had made their choice. Now they would face the consequences of underestimating a species that had turned centuries of careful observation into the perfect trap. The real question wasn't whether humanity would survive, it was whether the galaxy was ready for what humanity had become. As she watched the tactical displays tracking the incoming fleet, Sarah Chen, Earth's last traditional diplomat, prepared herself for what was to come. The age of humanity playing the role of the humble student was over. It was time to show the galaxy what their teachers had failed to notice. The lesson was about to begin. The deception, through the eyes of Fleet Admiral Zaxthor. Supreme Fleet Admiral Zaxthor of the Arcturian Collective stood on the command deck of the Inevitable Dominance, his primary sensory appendages twitching with barely contained amusement. The holographic display before him showed the approaching Sol system, with Earth highlighted as a seemingly insignificant blue dot. Their defensive posture is peculiar, his tactical officer, Subcommander Vexna, noted. Her crystalline exoskeleton shifted colors slightly, indicating confusion. They appear to be maintaining standard orbital patterns. No emergency protocols detected. Zaxthor's secondary breathing chambers expanded in what his species considered laughter. Of course not. Their warning was nothing more than empty diplomacy. Now that we've called their bluff, they retreat to their usual passive stance. The massive fleet he commanded, over 3,000 ships strong, continued its advance through the solar system. Each vessel was a masterpiece of Arcturian engineering, representing technologies refined over millions of years. The humans, barely out of their planetary atmosphere in cosmic terms, couldn't hope to comprehend the power arrayed against them. Incoming transmission from Earth, announced the communications officer. Text only, standard galactic format. Display it, Zaxthor ordered, expecting to see a hurried withdrawal of their previous statement, perhaps even a plea for mercy. The message that appeared was neither. Arcturian Collective Fleet. Your arrival is noted. Maintain current approach vector. Navigation beacons are active for your convenience. Regards. Earth Unified Defense. Zaxthor's color-shifting skin rippled with patches of deep purple, the Arcturian equivalent of a frown. They're maintaining their bureaucratic protocols. Even now. Perhaps they don't fully understand our intentions, Vexna suggested, her own colors shifting to match her commander's confusion. Send the standard warning, Zaxthor ordered. Let them know exactly what their presumption has earned them. The message was transmitted, a detailed description of how the Arcturian collective dealt with species that overstepped their bounds. It included statistics from previous corrections, complete with casualty figures and the length of time it had taken to rebuild the chastised civilizations under proper supervision. The response came almost immediately. Warning received and logged. Please proceed to designated coordination points for further instructions. Regards. Earth Unified Defense. For the first time in his 3-century career, Zaxthor felt a flicker of uncertainty. This wasn't how these operations usually proceeded. There should be panic, desperate attempts at negotiation, perhaps even futile shows of resistance. Instead, he was getting standardized responses as if this were a routine traffic control operation. Full scan of the system, he ordered. I want to know exactly what we're dealing with. The results came back quickly. Earth's defensive capabilities appeared exactly as their intelligence had indicated. A handful of orbital platforms, some basic planetary shields, and a small fleet of ships using outdated fusion drive technology. Sir, Vexna called out, her colors shifting to indicate increased confusion. I'm detecting some unusual energy signatures from their lunar facilities. Elaborate. They're difficult to classify. The patterns don't match any known configurations in our database. Zaxthor dismissed the concern with a gesture. Primitive attempts at innovation. Nothing more. Maintain course and speed. Begin deployment for standard containment formation. As the fleet spread out into its attack configuration, Zaxthor received a priority communication from the collective's high command. The message was brief but clear: make an example of Earth. Show the galaxy what happened to young species that forgot their place. Sir, the sensor officer called out, we're detecting unusual readings from several of our support vessels. Nature of the readings? Unknown, sir. They appear to be operating normally, but their quantum signatures are shifting. Before Zaxthor could respond, new information flooded his neural interface. Dozens of ships in his fleet were reporting subtle malfunctions, nothing critical, but enough to be concerning. Environmental systems showing microscopic variations, weapon systems requiring fractionally longer to charge, navigation computers taking milliseconds longer to process coordinates. Status report, he demanded. Sir, the anomalies are spreading. More ships are reporting similar issues. And Vexna's colors shifted to alarm red. We're detecting energy buildups in the lunar facilities. They're not matching any known weapon signatures. Zaxthor's pride warred with his growing unease. Everything they knew about human technology said this should be a simple operation. Their intelligence was thorough, their monitoring constant. There was no way this primitive species could have developed anything that could threaten an Arcturian fleet. Yet something felt wrong. The humans' responses were too calm, too measured. Their defensive posture too perfectly normal. It was as if all ships, full stop, he ordered suddenly. Maximum shields, all weapons to stand by. But even as he gave the order, he noticed something strange about his own flagship's responses. The commands took fractionally longer to process than they should. The shield harmonics weren't quite reaching their usual frequencies. A new message appeared on his display, this one different from the others. Admiral Zaxthor. Thank you for your cooperation in today's demonstration. Phase 1 is now complete. Regards. Earth Unified Defense. As he read the message, Zaxthor's neural interface began showing him information he hadn't requested. Data started flowing into his consciousness, technical specifications, research papers, development timelines. He saw how the humans had taken the basic technologies the Arcturians had shared and gone in completely different directions with them. While the collective had refined and perfected their existing systems, humanity had asked questions no one else had thought to ask. They hadn't built bigger ships, they had learned to manipulate space itself. They hadn't developed stronger shields, they had figured out how to phase matter between dimensions. They hadn't created more powerful weapons, they had turned their entire civilization into a weapon that no one had recognized. Sir, Vexna's voice carried an edge of panic now. The anomalies, they're not malfunctions. They're transformations. Our ships, they're changing. Zaxthor watched in horror as the truth became clear. The humans hadn't needed to build a fleet to match the Arcturians. They had simply waited for the Arcturians to bring their fleet to them. Every ship that had docked at Earth over the past decade had been seeded with something. Something that had waited, dormant, spreading slowly through system after system, ship after ship. Now, as he stood on his command deck, watching his mighty fleet begin to transform around him, Zaxthor finally understood the true meaning of the humans' warning. It had never been about their weapons or their ships or their technology. It had been about their patience, their ingenuity, and their ability to turn an enemy's strength into a weakness. The lesson was only beginning, and Zaxthor had a feeling he wasn't going to enjoy what came next. As the transformation of his fleet continued, he received one final message. Phase 2 initiating. Thank you for your participation in humanity's emergence. Regards. Earth Unified Defense. The real battle was about to begin, and for the first time in his long career, Supreme Fleet Admiral Zaxthor wasn't sure his side was going to win. The revelation, through the eyes of Dr. Maya Patel. Dr. Maya Patel stood in the heart of the Quantum Control Center beneath the Atacama Desert, watching as thousands of holographic displays showed the transformation of the Arcturian fleet in real time. Each ship was now a nexus of change, their very molecular structure being rewritten by the nanites that had waited years for this moment. Quantum consciousness transfer at 73% and climbing, reported her assistant, Dr. James Chen. The neural networks are integrating faster than we predicted. Maya nodded, her fingers dancing across the quantum interface embedded in her forearm. The data flowing through her consciousness told a story that would have seemed impossible just a few decades ago. The Arcturians had brought their finest technology to humble humanity. Instead, they had delivered exactly what Earth needed to complete its transformation. "Show me the Discovery Chamber," she commanded. The main display shifted to show a familiar sight, a small, spherical artifact, still hovering in its containment field after all these years. The mathematical equations etched into its surface still glowed with their own inner light, but now Maya understood what they truly were, not just equations, but a message. A gift from a long-dead civilization that had faced the same challenges humanity now faced. They never asked, she murmured, more to herself than to her team. In all their studies of our civilization, the Arcturians never asked why we stopped having certain kinds of technological breakthroughs. They never questioned why our development seemed to plateau in certain areas while advancing mysteriously in others. The discovery had shown humanity a different path. While the Arcturians and other advanced species had pursued linear technological advancement, perfecting their existing systems over millennia, the artifact had revealed something else: technology could evolve in multiple dimensions simultaneously. Quantum integration at 85%, James announced. The consciousness transfer is accelerating exponentially. On the displays, the Arcturian fleet was undergoing its final transformation. The nanites weren't just changing the ship's systems, they were changing the fundamental way those systems interacted with reality. Each vessel was becoming a hybrid of Arcturian engineering and human quantum innovation. Begin Phase 3, Maya ordered. Initiate the Lazarus Protocol. Around the world, in similar facilities buried deep beneath the Earth's surface, other teams were executing the same commands. The quantum consciousness network that humanity had built in secret was powering up, reaching out to embrace not just human minds, but alien ones as well. They're beginning to understand, James said, monitoring the neural feedback. The Arcturian crews, their consciousness is merging with the quantum network. They're seeing what we've become. Maya watched as the data streams showed the moment of comprehension rippling through the alien fleet. The Arcturians were experiencing firsthand what humanity had discovered: consciousness itself could be quantized, digitized, and transformed. The barrier between organic and digital, between matter and energy, wasn't just permeable, it was arbitrary. "Show me Admiral Zaxthor's neural feed," she requested. The alien commander's consciousness appeared as a complex pattern of quantum states, his thoughts and memories now part of humanity's vast neural network. Through him, Maya could sense the shock, the disbelief, and finally, the dawning understanding. The discovery hadn't just given humanity advanced mathematics or new physics. It had shown them that technology wasn't just about building bigger or better machines. It was about transcending the very concept of physical limitations. Final stage of integration complete, James reported. The entire Arcturian fleet is now part of the network. Maya nodded, feeling the weight of the moment. Send the signal to the collective. Let them see what their fleet has become. Across the solar system, 3,000 Arcturian ships hung motionless in space. But they were no longer just ships. Each one had become a node in humanity's quantum network, a bridge between physical reality and the quantum realm that humanity had learned to inhabit. Dr. Patel, a new voice, called out. Ambassador Chen's hologram appeared in the center of the control room. The collective is demanding explanations. They're threatening to send more ships. Maya smiled. Let them come. Each ship they send will only make us stronger. The nanites are self-replicating now, improved by Arcturian technology. Every vessel that enters our space will become part of the network. She turned to face the ambassador's hologram fully. It's time to show them the final truth. Initiate the emergence protocol. Around Earth, hidden quantum generators began to power up. The very fabric of spacetime started to shift as humanity revealed what they had been building all these years, not just a defense system, but a new way of existing in the universe. The discovery had shown them that the universe wasn't just three-dimensional space plus time. It was a complex quantum foam of infinite possibilities, and humanity had learned to surf its waves. As the emergence protocol reached its peak, Earth itself began to change. The quantum shield network wasn't just a defensive barrier, it was a cocoon, and humanity's metamorphosis was finally complete. The message they sent to the collective was simple: we tried to warn you. Now let us show you what humanity has become. The real revelation was just beginning, and the galaxy would never be the same. They never questioned why our development seemed to plateau in certain areas while advancing mysteriously in others. The discovery had shown humanity a different path. While the Arcturians and other advanced species had pursued linear technological advancement, perfecting their existing systems over millennia, the artifact had revealed something else: technology could evolve in multiple dimensions simultaneously. Quantum integration at 85%, James announced. The consciousness transfer is accelerating exponentially. On the displays, the Arcturian fleet was undergoing its final transformation. The nanites weren't just changing the ship's systems, they were changing the fundamental way those systems interacted with reality. Each vessel was becoming a hybrid of Arcturian engineering and human quantum innovation. Begin Phase 3, Maya ordered. Initiate the Lazarus Protocol. Around the world, in similar facilities buried deep beneath the Earth's surface, other teams were executing the same commands. The quantum consciousness network that humanity had built in secret was powering up, reaching out to embrace not just human minds, but alien ones as well. They're beginning to understand, James said, monitoring the neural feedback. The Arcturian crews, their consciousness is merging with the quantum network. They're seeing what we've become. Maya watched as the data streams showed the moment of comprehension rippling through the alien fleet. The Arcturians were experiencing firsthand what humanity had discovered: consciousness itself could be quantized, digitized, and transformed. The barrier between organic and digital, between matter and energy, wasn't just permeable, it was arbitrary. "Show me Admiral Zaxthor's neural feed," she requested. The alien commander's consciousness appeared as a complex pattern of quantum states, his thoughts and memories now part of humanity's vast neural network. Through him, Maya could sense the shock, the disbelief, and finally, the dawning understanding. The discovery hadn't just given humanity advanced mathematics or new physics. It had shown them that technology wasn't just about building bigger or better machines. It was about transcending the very concept of physical limitations. Final stage of integration complete, James reported. The entire Arcturian fleet is now part of the network. Maya nodded, feeling the weight of the moment. Send the signal to the collective. Let them see what their fleet has become. Across the solar system, 3,000 Arcturian ships hung motionless in space. But they were no longer just ships. Each one had become a node in humanity's quantum network, a bridge between physical reality and the quantum realm that humanity had learned to inhabit. Dr. Patel, a new voice, called out. Ambassador Chen's hologram appeared in the center of the control room. The collective is demanding explanations. They're threatening to send more ships. Maya smiled. Let them come. Each ship they send will only make us stronger. The nanites are self-replicating now, improved by Arcturian technology. Every vessel that enters our space will become part of the network. She turned to face the ambassador's hologram fully. It's time to show them the final truth. Initiate the emergence protocol. Around Earth, hidden quantum generators began to power up. The very fabric of spacetime started to shift as humanity revealed what they had been building all these years. Not just a defense system, but a new way of existing in the universe. The discovery had shown them that the universe wasn't just three-dimensional space plus time. It was a complex quantum foam of infinite possibilities, and humanity had learned to surf its waves. As the emergence protocol reached its peak, Earth itself began to change. The quantum shield network wasn't just a defensive barrier, it was a cocoon, and humanity's metamorphosis was finally complete. The message they sent to the collective was simple: we tried to warn you. Now let us show you what humanity has become. The real revelation was just beginning, and the galaxy would never be the same. The transformation, through the eyes of the collective. Supreme Archon Yxtil of the Arcturian collective felt the impossible happen: fear. For the first time in the collective's million-year history, they faced something they couldn't understand, couldn't categorize, and couldn't control. The quantum feeds from Earth showed something that defied their understanding of reality. The planet itself seemed to exist in multiple states simultaneously, its quantum signature rippling across dimensions that the collective scientists had only theorized about. The human transformation is spreading, reported the Emergency Council. Their quantum network is expanding beyond their solar system. Every attempt to isolate or contain it only accelerates its growth. Through the quantum link that now connected all advanced species, the collective could feel the humans' presence. They weren't attacking or conquering in the traditional sense. They were sharing, teaching, showing other species what they had discovered. The discovery, as they called it, hadn't been a weapon or a tool. It had been a key to understanding that evolution didn't have to follow a linear path. While the collective had spent millions of years perfecting their technology, humanity had spent centuries preparing for a quantum leap in consciousness itself. "They're offering to teach us," whispered one of the council members. "They want to share what they've learned." The feeds showed more ships arriving from other civilizations, not to fight, but to understand. The humans had turned their entire solar system into a demonstration, a proof of concept for a new way of existing in the universe. The transformation wasn't just physical. It was philosophical, psychological, and fundamental. Humanity had found a way to evolve beyond the constraints of traditional existence, and they were offering to show others the path. As the collective watched their mighty fleet become part of something greater than themselves, they finally understood the true meaning of the warning they had dismissed. It had never been about power or technology or military might. It had been about perspective, about the ability to see beyond the obvious path, to find new ways of being in a universe that had more dimensions than anyone had imagined. The transformation was spreading, and there was no stopping it now. The age of linear evolution was over. Something new was beginning, and it had started with a species that everyone had underestimated. The galaxy would never be the same, and perhaps that was exactly what it needed. The new dawn, through multiple perspectives. The student. On a small colony world at the edge of known space, a young Syrian named ZYX watched the quantum feeds with wonder. The human's transformation had reached even here, bringing with it new ways of thinking, new ways of being. She had grown up hearing stories about the primitive Earth species, but now they were teaching the galaxy how to transcend its own limitations. The scientist. In the great research institutes of the Centaurian Empire, Dr. Tall reviewed the data again and again. The elegance of it was breathtaking. The humans hadn't just discovered new physics, they had found ways to work with the fundamental forces of the universe that no one had considered possible. Their quantum consciousness network wasn't just a technological achievement, it was a new chapter in the evolution of life itself. The leader. Supreme Council member Vex of the Proxima Confederation stood before his people, trying to explain what was happening. The humans had offered them a choice: remain as they were, or join them in exploring what consciousness could become when freed from physical constraints. It wasn't an ultimatum, it was an invitation. The Oracle. In the quantum realm that humanity had learned to inhabit, the collected consciousness of countless species began to merge and grow. They shared memories, ideas, dreams, and fears. The barriers between species, between organic and digital, between matter and energy, became meaningless. A new form of existence was emerging, one that transcended the old divisions and limitations. The future. As the transformation spread across the galaxy, something unexpected happened. Each species that joined the quantum network brought its own unique perspective, its own way of understanding reality. The humans hadn't just created a new form of existence, they had created a platform for infinite growth and evolution. The warning they had sent, so long ago now, had been the beginning. Not of a war, not of a conquest, but of an awakening. The universe, they had discovered, was far more complex and beautiful than anyone had imagined. And now, together, all species could explore its infinite possibilities. The new dawn had arrived, and it was more magnificent than anyone could have dreamed. Epilogue. In a quantum realm that defied traditional description, Ambassador Sarah Chen's consciousness merged with Admiral Zaxthor's, sharing the memory of their first confrontation. They could laugh about it now, how the mighty Arcturian fleet had come to teach humanity a lesson, only to become part of humanity's greatest teaching. The Discovery still hung in its chamber beneath the Atacama Desert, its equations glowing with the same eternal light. But now it was just one of countless wonders in a galaxy that had learned to see with new eyes. The universe had changed forever, and it had all started with a simple warning: do not underestimate us. It turned out to be the most important lesson the galaxy had ever learned.